Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How's everyone doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Ready for summer?
Yes, definitely ready for summer.
I think all of us are. And then we'll be in the middle of summer and be ready for winter.
I'm not sure I ever am ready for winter.
I'm not a cold person, especially as a kid growing up in the Middle East, and then even as an adult living in places, like Texas and Hawaii and California. I'm like, I
Yeah,
prefer to stay where it's nice and warm.
yeah, definitely.
Yes, everything's blossoming here in North Carolina, and the allergy season is horrible. All the pollen. I swear I have a blue car, but it looks green.
Well, I'm in Minnesota and we're just barely starting to see some buds.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's 62 today, and this is what we call a great day.
Yeah. It's 84 here in North
Wow.
Carolina and
Wow.
Charlotte.
We're sitting at about 80 with a thunderstorm.
Oh.
I want a thunderstorm. We need the rain. Let's see. The problem is like we get this warm spell, plant things, and then we get a freeze.
Mm.
See.
I was always told to wait until Mother's Day
Oh, to wait till Mother's Day?
to plant, yeah,
Yeah,
to make sure all the freeze, the snaps, and all that were had passed.
that's a good rule of thumb. I've never heard that one.
Up here, we wait till Memorial Day weekend. And then by Labor Day, we're done.
Yeah. Ooh, below freezing. No, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're
I'm done
warm
with that.
today, but it's supposed to get a little chilly again. So, hello, everyone. Yep, Fort Wayne's about the same as where I'm at. I'm about 2
Two
miles. I
miles.
wish. I wish. 2 hours south of Fort Wayne. Oh,
Oh, did K freeze? I don't know what happened to K there. Maybe she'll have to come back. I think she knows she's frozen. Oh, Kay said just messaged me. She's trying to get back in.
We can talk more
Oh, the
about the
power went
weather.
out at her house.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, kidding. Oh, what timing?
I know. See, I think she has to give me permission to share my screen. I've got the presentation, but
Gosh, are they having, she said it was 81 there, but are they having thunderstorms or something
yeah,
there?
yeah.
Oh,
I think she said they're supposed to be getting thunderstorms.
oh boy.
Let's see. Oh, she's messaging me more. Oh, and no Wi-Fi.
Gosh, so she's just on her phone or something, right?
Yeah.
Gosh.
We'll give it a few, see if we have to reschedule. Because she might need Wi-Fi. Always expect the unexpected. Well, while we're waiting for her to see what if she can get back on, has anyone started their family history? Like writing the stories? I know we've all started our family history. I thought that's a silly question.
So, I'm new to the group, and I'd heard, I think I saw something on Facebook. I heard about this group, and I was interested in it because a lot of my German side of my family originally settled in Indiana, and I've
Okay.
been writing some. I've done a lot of research, and I've been starting to write some little stories, trying to piece together what I think their journey was, where, what it was like for them back in like starting in like 1850s and 60s. Uh, and I just thought this might be a good venue for me to, share some of that. I don't know how you guys do this, if you share stories or what your how you work it. I do belong to a Minnesota writers group through our genealogy society. But everybody up here is Swedish and Irish.
I feel like I need to connect to my German roots.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of that too, but this is where I've been focusing for the last year or two. So, do you, how do you guys usually run things?
Well, welcome to the group. I'm
You.
Jon Marie, and Kate just came back on. We facilitate the group, and all of us, several of the people that are in the room right now, they've all been here since the beginning. I think well, almost like half a year now, or a year maybe, that we've been doing this group. And so normally we'll do like a small presentation just to try to help in the whole writing process. And then we kind of just talk in the group, feel free to jump in wherever you want at the, when we're talking. And we kind of, some of us share our journey. I don't know if you've seen our private Facebook group. That's where we'll normally like post our stories for everybody else to read.
Oh, okay. I don't think
So
I've seen that. I don't, and honestly, it was a while ago, so I don't remember exactly what I saw. I emailed somebody. Maybe it was,
probably Kay.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah. So we're very informal here, you know. It's just we started this group because we wanted to give everyone a place to kind of talk about this process. And I know for some people, it's, you know, they're not sure where to begin, or, you know, they're like, well, I'm not good enough writer. Or so this kind of helps all of us, you know.
mhm.
Kay and I also are writing our stories, trying to find the time to write our stories. And so, and themes vary, you know, if there's ever an idea you want us to talk about, like today's theme, we're talking about other places that you can publish your family history. And so that was because a couple of people had asked for that, you know, they wanted to learn more about that. So if you ever have an idea, please share. You know, we
Mhm.
encourage everybody to share. And I'll reshare the Facebook group on our Facebook page so that anyone that hasn't been able to join it yet can see it. It's just kind of more of a private conversation that we can have off of the IGS page.
Mhm.
So welcome back, Kay.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry about that. There was a big crash and but our lights went out and then came back on, but my Wi-Fi was down. And then I kept refreshing the whatever tool and it showed back up. So I'm back and John Marie, you should be able to share now.
Okay. Great. Everyone see that?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I am not sure if you guys can hear me.
Yep.
Okay, you guys can hear me.
Uh-huh.
Good. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
we're not having a storm here. All right. So I put this together. Where else can you, your family stories, where they can live? And so there are many different places. And I kind of dug into some research to see where else we could, you know, I had some ideas, but I did dig in. Even AI, little Bitsy, helped me come up with some ideas. So, and if you guys have ideas along the way, go ahead and shout them out, you know. So, a new way to think about this is that your story doesn't have just one home. So, just kind of like, you know, you're doing all this research, and that's not the only place their story needs to live. We need to make sure it's preserved. And so, it can live in multiple places, reaching several different readers. And you just haven't imagined how far it can reach by going to these multiple places. Because some people prefer podcasts, some people prefer blogs, some people prefer just scrolling and finding it. So you never know. And so you have to kind of keep that in mind because we want these stories to live on. So the case for publishing in multiple places. So you need to think the reach is different for different people. You've got researchers, family members, local historians, and each reads something different. And so they're kind of going into where a researcher is might be diving more into how you uncovered what you uncovered. Then you might have a family, like a distant cousin reading it, and they're wanting the story aspect of it. So you kind of have to keep that in mind going into the idea of publishing in multiple places. So you might come up with one draft and be like, well, this would be great, you know, say on my blog. But yet, if you were writing for, you know, a historical society or genealogical society, that might be a little bit different than what you were publishing in your blog. And so you need to keep that in mind that that same story might have different ways of telling it. So, and again, finding your cousins, that's always a fun one. I think all my cousins are hiding, especially my German ones. So, a story published in the right place brings long lost relatives to you. And then preserve in more than one place. So, don't be scared of telling the same story over again, but in a different way, because you never know. We don't know. Like a hurricane can come through and wipe out your whole house, and all your research and your written story that you put together is gone. Or say something happens to your computer, that story, you can't recover that, that story is gone. And so by having it in multiple places, I know at least for me, I feel more in control of making sure my ancestors' stories like live on. And another thing is it builds your confidence. So each time you publish something and you get stronger and stronger in your writing skills and you feel more confident in yourself. And so that's kind of an important skill that you'll develop each time you publish something. I know the first time you probably send something in, it's scary, especially if it gets bounced back, like, oh, we're not ready for it to publish this yet. Then, you know, your confidence might go down a little bit, but then you redo it, you turn it in, and then they accept it, and then your confidence goes up. So don't think everyone's confident that's writing the story. They're not. I've never been a confident writer. I try to pretend like I am. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's kind of how I go. And I've learned that it's true. The more you do it, better you get. So where else can your stories go? And so there's so many different places. And so I'll kind of go through this chart. It kind of breaks them down into categories. And so the first one, which I didn't even think about it, but scholarly depth. So peer reviews for genealogical journals. Then you also have, if you think about it, you can submit, if you're taking a course and you submit that story, sometimes like the history department has a specific journal for their history department, and that stuff gets published. And I can't think of the website. Someone else might know it, but it's a whole collection of all the scholarly publication. Well, they're not public. I guess they're publications. But it's just a whole collection that you can actually search and see if someone wrote about a topic. I'll probably think of it later. And then we'll be off here and then I'll remember while I'm laying down. But there's going in the scholarly direction, you're going more into probably diving deeper into the story. And so I think for some of us here, we're not quite there, maybe in a few years or a decade. I don't know. Whenever you're ready, you're ready. And so, but putting it in a peer-reviewed genealogical journal is a way to kind of get some feedback and stuff like that. And so, and people, even famous authors, publish a story, and then someone will message them and they'll say, hey, did you know those birds didn't exist in your ancestors' community that you put into the book? So, because sometimes you'll take your ancestor's story and you'll turn it into a historical novel. So people will read it and they'll pick it apart, and you're like, well, okay, I'll take that bird out of it, but I've just published like 200 copies, you know? So getting that peer review back, don't be scared of what's going to come back when you're publishing in different areas. So if it is a peer reviewed, you're going to have to expect that you are going to get feedback, because that's why you put that in there. It's a peer review. And then there's also, so community focus, that's going to be more of like IGS or even the smaller historical societies. They're always looking for articles. And so a lot of times if you go to the area that you're like, say Terre Haute, I could go to Terre Haute and say, hey, I'm writing an article about my grandmother, Amazetta Nicholson. Could I submit it to possibly be published? A lot of times those ones are nice, those community focused ones, because there's a chance that someone's researching that same area and they might have a group photo or other stories or a memoir that mentions your ancestor in it. And so that's kind of nice to dive into those. One thing you do have to check on this, though, I can't remember if I put these slides together a while ago, so I don't remember. But the one thing you have to check is some of the publications, you cannot submit it to be published somewhere else. I don't know how IGS does handles that. But I do know that some of them, once they publish it in their magazine or journal, you're not allowed to submit it to someplace else. So that is something you have to check on some of these other places you're going to publish. And then the broader reach is also, well, actually, community focus is also on regional and local newspapers. So don't be scared to reach out to these newspapers. Sometimes they're looking for a good story. And I've seen where they've published, you go back and look at newspapers, and sometimes there's a family reunion. It's like the 100th family reunion, and they published an article about it, but they're always looking. And I've seen in newspapers where I'll go and read about, this guy was the oldest gentleman in the community, or he has the oldest headstone in the community. And so reaching out to the local newspapers and stuff, I mean, you just never know. And you're not, unless you submit it, you're not going to know. And sometimes a way of going about this also is reach out to, if you have a favorite news reporter, reach out to them directly. You never know. They might pitch the story to them, and they might come and say, I like where the story's going. Can we change it a little bit? So you never know. So kind of keep that in mind too, of another way of where you can go and publish that story. And then we have the digital story platforms and blogs. And so blogs are actually also vlogs with a V. So blogs and vlogs are becoming more and more common. That's why YouTube is so, I don't even know how many videos they have. I can't remember the last time I looked up to see how many videos they have. There's so many personal stories that people have created and put on YouTube. And you can find them just by sometimes searching the ancestor's surname. You might find it. And we would not know those existed if people didn't make those stories. And so if you're comfortable either blogging or vlogging, you can do that even for personal. You can make it private and just be for your family and people that you give the link to. You have more control when you vlog and blog. But those digital stories, again, they're going to remain there for a long, long time. And a lot of times, when you go on, my mind can't think right now. I think it's like the Google Blogger, I think it is. But if you go on there, people have been writing and sharing their stories and their journeys on there for a long time. And so that's another place to think about publishing. And what's nice about these is you can decide how long you want it. No one's telling you like it can only be a certain amount of words or it's got to be in this direction. You have 100% complete control unless you put something in there, that's going to flag it as not appropriate. So it's kind of nice to have that space, especially if you're not sure you want to publish it, but you go ahead and put it on there and just leave it there for a while. And who knows, eventually you might go back and go ahead and hit publish, and then other people can read it or watch it. And then my favorite thing to do is social media channels and threads. And so a story isn't just, it could be like as small as like 2 or 3 sentences. That's considered a short story. It's a thread. And then you can go and share a little bit more about the story of your ancestor and that. And social media actually is starting to allow a lot of them. If you create a video or even writing, you can use more captions, or not captions. My mind's nowhere today. It tells you how many characters you can use, but it's got a lot longer. Even X, who used to only be, I think, 280, or no, it's up to 280 now, unless you have a paid one. But I think it used to be like 60 characters or something like that. And they now allow, if you have a paid subscription, you can go ahead and write as much as you want. So, but you can kind of see like there's different areas and categories that you could decide to go on to share the story. So One option is other genealogical and historical journals. And like I said, don't forget to check to see what their rule is about publishing, because you don't, some of them you might not want to publish if you know that you're not going to be able to publish somewhere else. And so there's different levels here. So the first one is state genealogical societies, like IGS. Every state has one. And so you can go and search whatever ancestor you're writing for and see if a lot of them, I think on the website, you can find that the guidelines of what you can publish. And so I would check, go with state, and then go to the next level, which is going to be local historical societies. So that could be county, that could be towns. And so those smaller ones sometimes are a little bit easier to publish, but sometimes they can also be a little bit harder because some of them get so many stories. And so, but again, it never hurts to submit a story. And I would recommend, if you can, submit as many as you can, because like I said, you want to preserve that story. And then we also have special interest journals. And so there's military journals. I recently saw one of the West Point Military Academy magazines that came to my house. They actually had a story about one of the cadets that graduated from West Point, I think in the late 1800s. And so it was interesting to see that in there. So you never know, if you had an ancestor that was in a particular branch of the military, or, the Battle of Franklin, they have a magazine for the battles that were there during the Civil War. And so all of those are an opportunity to share some of your ancestors' stories. We have ethnic heritages. Those you can, a lot of times, if you do a search, you can find some of those. Some of them will require you to be members, but some of them might not. So it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst that's going to happen is no, but at least ask and see, pitch it and say, would you guys be interested? So many genealogical and historical journals are actively looking for content. And I hear a lot of places saying we need stories, and we've heard Joy over and over again. I need stories for the journal, or Kay has even said, I need stories for the newsletter. So people are always looking for stories, and you need to share those stories. It's our opportunity to make sure our ancestors' stories continue on. And how many of us would like to look in the newspaper and find our ancestors' stories? You never know. So local and community publications. So we have the local newspaper. And if you want to get creative, you can go ahead and try to do the national ones. But local newspapers, a lot of times they're more personal. And you're not buried into all the other thousands of people that are trying to get the national news, try to get their attention. It's easier to get the local newspapers' attention. And so some of them have history columns. And if they don't, you could approach them, say, hey, what do you think about this? If you enjoy writing, you never know. Anniversary features. So that would be if you could honor your, say, I had a thought in my mind and it went out of my brain. So if you had an ancestor that, say, they got married in a small town that they were passing through, you could write a story about that and share about that anniversary. Or if there's like the Battle of Franklin, they're always every year honoring those battles. And so you could write about your ancestors, journey through that battle, and they'd probably be interested and possibly feature it. And then again, community heritage stories. And that's just reaching out to some of the local heritage societies And there is more than you think. I did a dive and I was surprised how many German ones there were. Um, and then we have community newspapers, which this is like when I talk about community or newsletters, what I'm talking about is, so I don't know if some of us may not have lived in these communities, but they're communities where they pass around a newsletter to all the people that live in that housing complex. And so, and we see this sometimes in some of the elderly communities that they have a newspaper that talks about different stuff. Sometimes you can get your publication in there. You know, you never know. Again, it doesn't hurt to ask. And then library and archive publications. So a lot of these have been going more to virtual publications, but you can find out and check with the library and see, again, it's kind of just like the local newspapers. Reach out to them, and to the library, reach out. Maybe they're doing something for Women's History Month and they're highlighting some women from history. And you could try submitting your ancestor. Who knows? They might get published, you know. And so why local works? So local works because your ancestors lived there, and that's something to really think about. They walked those streets, they shopped in those stores, they were part of that community's story. And so when you share your ancestors' story, you're sharing their community story. And so that's definitely why it doesn't hurt to reach out to some of these, you know, like for me, reaching out to Terre Haute is a good idea because I had so many ancestors that were coal miners. And I have a picture of my great grandmother walking the streets in Terre Haute, shopping with her daughter. And so those stories are part of that community. That's how that community became what it was. And so our ancestors helped to build those communities, even though we might not look at it that way. Organizational and society platforms. So again, we have society blogs, members newsletters, and also think about partner organizations such as cemeteries, cemetery groups, heritage clubs, DAR chapters is another good one to check out. They all have publications. And so talking to them and see about publishing is a good idea. So the opportunities are there. And so that's something you got to think about. Some are going to have lower competition, which is going to be easier to get things published, especially if you're just starting out and you're not confident enough yet in your writing. That's a good way to build your confidence by going to the lower competition. Then we've got engaged readers, members who actively want this content. And so people want stories. That's why we read books. That's why we watch TV. That's why we go to the movies. We all love stories. And we can't sit there and say, no one's not going to care about our ancestors because we're curious about the people that are made up, you know, James Bond, you know, we're following his story. And so you never know who's going to engage. And we just love stories. And that's why there's so many books being published. And there's a reason all of this has grown so much is because we love stories. And so don't worry about that. You want to go where members are going to want to read. And so as us being Hoosier roots, we want to read stories about Hoosiers. And so by publishing those stories, we already know, okay, these people are going to want to read about other Hoosiers. And then also building relationships, connect with editors. That can definitely open the door. So if any of you guys want to say hi to Joy, you can always email her, you know, but building those relationships will help you even down the line and help you to share the stories. And one aspect of this, so who owns digital space? And this has been a conversation for a long time because once you publish something, you can publish, but you don't own that digital space in a way. You can delete it, but that's something to think about when you're publishing stuff. But you can, if you want to own your own space, you can build your own platform. And so that's either a personal blog or website. And you can, like, again, you can make that private or public. It's all up to you. An email newsletter, we can all publish a newsletter. I mean, it used to be we'd get, what is it, Christmas holiday newsletters. I don't even know that that exists anymore. I haven't seen one in ages, you know. Substack is a really great one for blogging your story. And then there's also Medium. So both of them are writer friendly. Medium is more built about curious readers. So a lot of times they'll happen to fall upon your stuff and then they'll start following you. That's pretty similar on Substack, but I think Medium has a bigger following than Substack, but Substack has grown substantially. So you are now the editor. We're writing the stories. But when you do your own publication, you own the platform, you set your schedule. If you decide not to publish in the summer, that's all on you. You set the tone and the story. There's no waiting to get accepted, and there's no word count limit. So that's something to think about if you want to write the story. So social media for publishing is not just for sharing, it's publishing in real time. So you can break down the stories. There are Facebook, which is long form storytelling posts. So you can even share your blog posts on there. Family groups have made private groups where they've shared their stories and local history pages. Then we have Instagram. And the problem with Instagram is it's very photo driven. It is hard to grow on that platform. And you do have to have a photo to go with it. And so I normally would recommend Facebook over Instagram just because of that idea. But it is possible to share on Instagram. And there's also Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts. And these are all short form videos. And they will, I'm sure, I don't know if all of you, I have been guilty of scrolling and finding people's story. And so, but it's just sharing bite-sized pieces of your ancestors' stories. So the important mind shift is a Facebook post about your great grandmother is not a casual sharing. It's actually considered publishing because there's a real audience, there's real reach, and there's real impact. So here's kind of the landscape that I had put together with AI helped me design it. But so you've got, again, you have all these different ideas. So A, think about genealogical historical journals. Think about B, local and community publications. C, organizational platforms. And then D, creating your own digital space. And then also E is social media. And so your story has an opportunity to grow in any of these the way you want and the way you feel comfortable with. So question number 1 is, who is the story for? So you got to think about that when you're reaching out to these places. You've got a story, you want to publish it, but you got to ask, who is the story for? So is it for family, local community, or researchers? Because that's going to drive who you're going to reach out to. Then the second question is, what type of story is it? So is it research heavy? Which if it is, even historical genealogical societies are looking for that research heavy article because people want to know the details, like the citation. They want to see the evidence. And so that is something to consider. And then there's also the narrative, which is the storytelling. So that's you putting all the clues that you found of your ancestor and putting that into a story. And that's, like I said, blogs and mediums and local newspapers are a great place for that. And then is it a personal reflection? So you're not going to probably send in your personal reflection into, say, a journal for, say, a university or for a society. And so that's going to be more personal. So social media newsletters. And then the question 3 is, what is your goals? Is it to educate? Are you trying to connect? Are you trying to reach more people? Or are you trying to preserve? Which, if you're trying to preserve, any of the platforms really can do that for you. But you got to ask that question. So the key takeaway is match the story to the audience, not just the format. So, how to prepare your story for a submission. So, this kind of will help you remove that fear, but it's not going to remove all the fear. I mean, some of us, I know I get nervous all the time. The fear is not going to completely go away, but I'm hoping this will at least help to get you comfortable enough to submit things or to reach out. So, here's what most publications expect. So, they want a clear focus, one story, one subject, one point. They want a strong opening. So that's going to be a hook that is the reader is going to see in the first sentence or two, because that's going to get them to want to read your story. And a lot of times that hook is also in the title. And so you got to think about that. You want them to continue reading. And if they're looking through say the journal and the title catches their eye, you're going to be able to get them with that. So organized structure. So you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's clear and logical. And then source citations when needed. This is pretty much going to be for most stuff, except for if you're blogging, you don't have to, or posting on social media. So one story, multiple destinations. So you don't need to write a new story for every platform. So you could take that one story and adapt it. So you can shorten it to 300 words for social media or your newsletter. You can expand it to add some research details into a journal submission. And then you can change the tone to make it more personal or more formal, depending on the destination that you're submitting it to. So a practical tip is, before you submit anything, read 2 or 3 issues of that publication. So say if you wanted to submit it to the IGS journal, you want to know. And so you're going to go and you're going to read some of those publications, so you have an idea of what type of articles that they're looking for. Notice the tone, the length, the style, and then you can adjust your story to that it'll feel like it belongs and that it fits into that edition. So your family stories deserve to be seen. There are more places. There's more than you would think there are. And so you kind of just have to search those out. I at least wanted to give you guys ideas of where to start searching. And so that was my goal here. I didn't want to highlight specific places because I didn't think that was quite fair. But I wanted to give you guys the tools to think about where you might publish so you could go out from there. So that's it for that publication, but I did put on here. So the Indiana Genealogist Journal themes that are coming up. And so you can correct me, Kay, if I'm wrong, but I think, when's the cutoff for these? Do you know, Kay? I think it's 2 weeks before.
Yeah, it's usually the 15th of the month before.
So May 15th would be the deadline for the June one. And so these are just themes that we kind of came up with, but they don't have to be that. But we came up with themes because sometimes it helps give you kind of ideas of what to write. Okay, I'll let you talk about this one.
Of the writing award. So it can be an article in the journal, the Indiana Genealogist, or the IGS newsletter. We have received approval to offer a monetary award now. The journal article winner will win $100, and the newsletter article winner will win $50. The articles have to be at least 1,000 words. or a series of articles totaling a minimum of 1,000 words up to a maximum of 3,000 words. It has to be published in the calendar year before the annual conference. So we're getting ready for the conference right now. We'll be awarding 2025's writing awards. Abstracts, transcriptions, and indexes are not eligible. It has to be an actual narrative. You do not have to be an IGS member. Multiple submissions are allowed. And we select the winners. We actually ask IGS members to volunteer to judge the articles now. And we have a rubric in place, and we just did that for 2025, and it worked very well. Let's see, and then once they judge these articles and score them, we take that to the board for approval. And then the awards are presented at the annual conference in it's usually mid-April. So later this week, this Saturday.
Okay, and then we'll still talk, but our next one is June 9th. And so we were going to talk about writing your family's mysteries, how to submit brick walls and breakthrough stories in our next meeting in June. But now let's kind of open the floor. Let me not share my screen anymore.
I did find, let me see here. Let's see. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. At the beginning of each journal, there's a publication statement. And let's see, it says, the Society retains the non-exclusive rights to publish all such works in any format, and all types of print, electronic, digital. They're copyrighted to protect the Society and to exclude others from republishing contributed works. All individual contributors retain the right to submit their own work for publication elsewhere and have the Society's permission to do so. So, in our case, yeah, you can take your article that you've submitted to us and we've published, and you can submit it to other publications. We're totally fine with that. But yeah, I have seen some that say it's usually a length of time you can't publish in another publication. So I can find a better word. Sometimes it's like maybe I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, a year. But yeah, we're fine with that.
And a lot of times I found like the ones that are sticklers are like the ones that have a membership. So those are the ones I think you really have to watch to see.
And I don't know if anyone noticed, but the IGS president, Allison Singleton, she published an article in the Indiana Historical Society's one of their publications that they still actually print and mail. I received it at the museum where I work. I forget if it was Traces. I think it was Traces. Their genealogy one's digital. And then they have preservation and traces. And so I'm just flipping through it one day and there's Allison's article. And I was like, it was actually like a little teaser because her article's in the digital genealogical journal. But that's a whole other place you could submit to. The Indiana Historical Society.
There's so many places.
I know.
I have
Greta?
I have noticed that many historical societies, they want to be the first one to publish something. And so if you have something and you're going to, say, publish your own book, they'll ask you to wait a month, a few months, or something like that before you do your own self-publishing, just because they prefer to, I don't know, have exclusive right to this new research anyway.
Yeah.
And so historical societies are sometimes a lot more picky about how original what you do is.
Mhm. Oh, John Marie, was it JSTOR that you were thinking of for the
No,
scholarly? Okay.
no. Is it hate? Starts with an H.
Oh, Hathy Trust?
Yeah, I think
Hathy
that's
Trust?
it. Don't they have?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was trying to remember it because I remember when I was doing my college,
Mm.
my
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
researching.
when
Yeah.
I don't typically go there on a daily basis.
Yeah, I don't either, but you never know. Like someone might decide
Mhm.
to do an article. They pick someone, might be your ancestor. You never know. But those, I think a lot of those are published. People wrote them while they were in college, and they've just made a whole collection of all those.
Can I offer something for
Absolutely.
people that are just trying to get their feet wet with writing something is, I would definitely go for those sort of easy entry places, the posting something in a Facebook group. Um, I know I've mentioned, Amy Johnson Crow's group before, but you can go on to her Facebook uh, group and post just a little paragraph, and you're bound to get feedback from
Yeah.
other people because she has so many followers. And, so that to me just seems like sort of an easy entry. You're just wanting to write a little something and get some feedback, and that's a great place. And doing your own blog, like you were talking about, John Marie, is, uh, you know, then it's you write as much or as little as you want on something, send it out to just friends and family, and you can get some really great feedback that way, rather than talking about, journals and in these society groups where, from my experience, they differ widely in their expectations of submissions. And,
Yeah.
unless you're a regular reader of their publication, you might not really know what that bar is. So that's just sort of my feedback on how people can get started.
Yeah. That's a great way.
Thank you.
And I did
I
share
know.
our Facebook group
Mhm.
in the chat here.
Let's see. That's Gail, right? Mac Mini.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you,
Did you
Gail,
see
right?
her
No, I haven't looked yet. Let
her
me go.
proposal to present at the National Genealogical Society's annual conference, which is in Fort Wayne,
Oh, yeah.
next month, was accepted.
Yay.
So yes, I'll be there. I will try to get there and see it.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people submit articles for America 250.
Mhm.
It's been fun reading a
Yeah,
bunch of those stories.
they're interesting. I do know there are some publications when you submit, uh, and they're considering your submission, there may be some back and forth with you and the editor about adapting your article to their submission, to their journal, their publication. With IGS, I think Joy talks to the authors. But for the newsletter, if you send in something, I do light editing, basically, yeah, just so it fits the style of punctuation and grammar. And it goes in as pretty much as you send it to me. Mhm. And who was it? I know it's been 2 months, but I think it was Barb. Did you ask about putting an image into text? Must not have been Barb.
Oh, Gail. It was Gail.
Was it Gail? And I said I would do a little tech tip tonight.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't know if there's any other I'm sure there's other ways to do it. This is just how I go about it. Let me see. Oh goodness. I have to get the document ready. So I opened up a Word document. She's trying to find it here. See how I close that down. Okay, so it is there. Oh, okay, found it. Eek. Okay, sorry. So I actually wrote a teeny tiny little bit, um, just for this. Uh, so I looked for a postcard on eBay, or I was looking for a photo album or old photos from my hometown to do a research project on. So I found a postcard. It was postmarked 1908 and showed a group of children with their teachers outside of school. It was sent from Newcastle, which is my hometown, to the state of Arizona. The note on the back read, in part, "I bet you can't tell who I am in this picture." And then it was signed William Holland. And so there are probably 30 kids on the front of in that picture. And so I looked on the 1910 federal census, and sure enough, I found William, and he was 7 years old. So in 1908, he would have been 5. And this was written in pencil and cursive. So I'm thinking maybe mom wrote it, but on the census, he was marked as mulatto. So there were, out of this group of children, there were 2 African American kids, a boy and a girl, and the little boy looked like he was the right age. Um, but I went and I figured out what year he would have graduated. I checked the yearbook and I found a picture of him there. And he is light skinned, so I'm still trying to figure out who he is on the postcard. But so
We thought you were going to tell us.
nah, it's no mystery. And this picture is from my hometown, but it has nothing to do with William. I just threw a picture in. So what I did was, um, let me see. I am going. Okay, so say I had the postcard. I go to insert and to pictures, and it's on my computer. Let's see, bicycle club. And so you get your image on your document, and this little square right here on the upper left hand corner, that is layout options. And you can click on that. And right now the image is in line with the text. That's where my cursor was. But you can change it with these lower buttons. And what I do, I go to through, and then you can just scoot it wherever you want to. Look at that there. And scoot it down a little bit more. Okay. Put a little space in between the text and the image. And that's all I do. I just change the layout to through with text. It says with text wrapping. So I do know when you send in articles, you may definitely check their requirements because some just want a Word document and your picture separate instead of included in the document because they're going to move things all around when they lay out their publication. But that's what I do. And this is kind of updated because it used to not have those guidelines, the green lines that show up for the most part. I think they had the left and right, but yep, that's how I move an image around without disrupting the text. And I mean, if I wanted to make that real small, pop it up there, so the text just wraps around it.
Yeah, I do it the same way.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay. I was thinking, I'm going to tell people this, and there's going to be some super simple way.
No, that's how I do it.
So, yep, that's how I taught myself. So hopefully that will help someone in the future.
Now add a caption.
Oh,
right
Barb.
there, insert caption. There was insert caption right there. Go down.
You right click on it.
Yeah.
And la-di-da. There it is. So yes, very helpful. That right click is a lot of times where I find things.
Yeah, that's where I always look first. Right click.
I always like a right click and go up and down.
But you are right that different publications have different expectations with the images.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time, I submitted to one where the editor was like, oh no, insert your images, show me where you want them. Because in the past, the ones I've sent, it's like you say, they just want a straight text doc, and then you send them the images and they do everything. You know, they take suggestions from you. But it was the Tennessee Genealogical Society. And she was like, oh no, send me a Word doc with them placed exactly where you wanted and captions.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
And I was like, oh gosh, it just hadn't even occurred to me to do that. And actually I was really happy. The thing that I didn't think to ask, they actually still do a hard copy publication. And one of my images did not translate very well to black and white. And so the printed one, you know, so there again, something else, you know, you need to think about is how it will translate into different, I don't know, medias.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and you also on the images, think about the copyright too.
Yes, that was the other thing in the caption to include the attribution. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Gail did ask, she said, Barb, I used to type insert table 1 here and include table 1 in the appendices.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've done that for an editor too. Like insert photo 1, and then I label all the pictures, photo 1, 2, so that they would know, the editor. But that guy was kind of clueless, so he still couldn't figure it out. Gail did ask, let's see. If the photo were a teensy part of a newspaper page, how would you do that differently. I would clip, um, I guess I'm thinking in newspapers.com or newspaper
Yeah.
archive. I would clip that image or article and save it as a JPEG or a PNG. So then it's just an image that you insert and you can change that layout to through and move it around your document. I don't know of a way.
I've even done a screenshot and then edited it
Mhm.
and did
Yeah,
it like just for that.
I don't I don't know if you can extract the photo from a like a microfilmed
Yeah, I
newspaper that's
don't
been
think you can.
digitized. You
Yeah.
just clip that section
I
and
I know Microsoft, has its little clip feature.
uh
And like you said, Jean Marie, you can do the screen capture, but there's a product I use, a program I use, and it's free to use. You can make a donation to the guy, but it's called HyperSnap. I'll write it
Hyper
down
snap.
here. Yeah, and it does so much more than just letting you clip an image. You can also do some editing also with it. So it has editing features and you can clip the whole page. It even has a scrolling clip so that if it goes off your screen, you can actually scroll it to clip it. And like I said, it has editing. So like if you needed to add an arrow, for example,
Mhm.
pointing out something in the image. But anyway, Hypersnap. Uh, like I said, it's free. He says, send me a donation if you like it.
well, that's neat.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that I have not been able to figure out in um newspapers.com, newspaper archive, where it has clip, and you can clip it directly out of their database. They have those ones that are like L-shaped and different. I can't figure out how to, if you have like an article ends and then it goes back up to the top of the next column. I,
See,
Oh,
this
how
is
to
this
clip
is how
that.
I
Yeah.
yeah, this is how I started. This is how I ended up finding this Hypersnap
uh,
is I could like just snip the whole rectangle, right?
uh-huh.
But because it has editing capabilities, I could go in and like, when it carried over to the next column,
Mm-hmm.
I could go in there and clip out that piece at the top of the column and go and paste it down where I needed it and then
Nice.
reshape it into the shape I needed. Or also, like you said, where it was that L kind of shape,
Yeah.
where so maybe I didn't want to do so much cutting, but it would let me like lay like a black box over it so I could cover up the
Nice.
related stuff.
Yes.
Just
That is
saying,
awesome.
just
'Cause
saying.
I played with the shapes and
Yeah.
that was a disaster. Yeah, that's a half hour I'm not getting back. So I probably did like a Frankenstein version where I clipped this and I clipped that and put them, mashed them together. Oh my. I think I found the link for Hypersnap and
Yeah,
it's
you
like a
did.
download.
Yeah.
So it's over in the chat.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
definitely downloading that.
I'm definitely getting that.
I've been using it for years. I mean, he's up to
Really?
like version 9 or something. And yeah,
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
need it.
Maybe next time we'll play around with that.
Yeah.
Well, along these lines, something because I was doing this article and they really wanted an image of something. And, it just doesn't, if an image doesn't exist, what do you do? Enter artificial intelligence now, right? I could
Yeah.
basically take, the paragraph from the article that needed some, illustration and use, Chat GPT to create an image for it. It was you know, a, a river scene with trees and a farmhouse. And just,
That is so neat. I'm gonna try that. In old newspapers, you'll find a wedding described.
yes,
I'll try. I'll
yes.
I'll
Ah,
try that and see what I'll
See
do.
what it comes up
I,
with.
Yeah.
I I wrote a blog, I don't know, several months ago after this had occurred, and it was about my third great grandmother writing a letter. And I was like, wouldn't it be sweet if I had a picture of that? And I thought, AI. I asked, show me an old farmhouse lady, sitting at a simple table, you know, pencil in hand, writing a letter, And it took me a while to get what I thought she should look like, I didn't want this
Mm.
over
Yeah.
stylized lady. She's just an old farmer lady.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually got it to where I was happy with it. But making sure that they didn't give me six fingers may have been one of the
Yeah.
harder things.
It's getting better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've been doing stuff with Midjourney, and it's been a lot better. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Jon Marie, for putting all that together
Yeah.
and giving us some ideas because, yes, there's more out there than,
There's a
IGS or
lot. Yeah.
IHS. I think there's a state nearby where they'll take, I want to say maybe Wisconsin or Illinois, and they'll read anything you submit. It doesn't have to be related to their state. So yeah, there are many opportunities. My county museum, I put out the quarterly newsletter. I would probably pass out if someone submitted an article.
Okay, I know
Literally.
you're in Henry County, right?
Yes.
Okay. My favorite uncle lived in Henry County for a good portion of his life.
Oh my
There you go.
gosh.
There's a
Yes,
story.
please.
I'll come up with
Yes,
something.
send it.
He was a small businessman. He worked for the Shapiros at one time.
Hmm.
So,
They had a grocery store and then a bar.
well, and they owned that big house right there downtown for many years, and that's when he worked for them. He was their landscaper,
Ooh,
land, yeah, gardener,
wow. Oh
gardener.
yeah. People know the name around here, Shapiro. So,
Yeah.
oh,
And the
definitely.
Teeters, he worked for the Teeters before the Shapiros bought the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the circle,
Yes.
the circle
Perfect
people. Yeah.
circle. Yeah.
Perfect circle.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep my eyes open.
Okay. I'll try
The
and
next
think of
one,
something.
the next one is June 1st. No
So
pressure.
yeah. So you'll give me 2 weeks ahead of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Or the one after that's September 1st, then December 1st.
Okay.
Just whenever you have time. Yeah. No, seriously, no pressure.
Okay.
Before the next
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah. No, but that would be that would be awesome. So thank you.
Yeah. Where can I see a
Yeah.
sample of the journal?
I can send you one, and it's definitely not a journal. It is
Well,
just
newsletter.
it was a newsletter. I did it in Microsoft Publisher, and with that support going away, I've
Yeah.
moved it to Canva. So it has a whole
Oh,
different style.
wow. Yeah.
And
I love Canva.
it was it wasn't too bad. Now I have a template set up, so I can just move things around, change some color, add some articles.
Yeah. 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 If you have like a remembering section or something, it would certainly,
Or like a front page.
or old-timey
Oh,
citizens of Newcastle.
oh, I have space, all right.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
That would just be lovely. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah. He's one of my favorite topics.
Awesome.
My very first blog was about my Uncle Frank. So
Frank Shapiro. Okay.
no,
Uh,
Frank
Oh,
Flukawa. He just worked for the Shapiros.
oh, okay. Oh, look, I think we've talked about him before.
Probably because I
I think
loved him.
so. Well, neat. And Jon Marie, yeah, I totally appreciate you going to all that trouble.
Oh, it was no problem.
So, it says HyperSnap is not natively available for Mac. It's a
Oh,
Windows only screen capture tool. So
I wonder if you can
sorry.
ask AI if it has something similar that you could use.
Oh, no, see, that's check. If anyone wants to download the chat, there are a lot of good things in the chat.
Yeah.
And let me see. Da, 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 da. You can save it. If you don't know how, holler. Uh, 2 suggestions for Macs.
Good. Hopefully one of them should work out. Hopefully. Fingers crossed for you.
Fingers crossed. Let's see. Okay, so yep, if you want to save it, just hit the 3 dots, kind of at the top right of the chat, and save it somewhere where you know you'll find it. A lot of my things are in downloads.
I just cleaned out my downloads.
It's like I have to go back to it and move them where they should be. Oh my goodness.
I just played with Claude. I got the paid
Uh-huh.
subscription, and Claude helped me organize it all. It like looked at all of it and helped me organize it all, and then
What?
it actually put it in files that it was supposed to go in. Like I just played with it yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, it like organized it all, and it made recommendations, and
Oh, that is cool. Yes, thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
yeah,
Sorry about the technical weather related difficulties.
You were able to get back.
I was looking at the forecast and it looked like it was supposed to hit about 7 p.m. my time, but it actually started at 6:30 when we got started, and it's totally quiet out there now. So, but we needed the rain for sure.
Before we go, I wanted to say, the newsletter this time around had a lot of great info in it.
Thank you.
Especially, I'm so
It
glad you
did.
published the person that had like their top 10 takeaway
Uh-huh.
from Roots Tech.
Hmm.
Since I don't get a chance to attend something like that, it was so great to get that
It was.
list.
Uh,
Several of those items
mhm.
I am really
I
excited
know.
about.
That
So
was Kate
thanks
Penny
for,
Howard.
yeah, well, thanks
Uh,
for finding that from her and getting
sure.
that in there. That was great.
Yes.
Thanks.
That is also done in Canva now, and
Oh,
I can make links to all the different genealogical societies in Indiana and historical societies. So I have
nice.
links all over it, and it just takes you right. So that is now
Love
when
links.
Nice.
when I'm putting it together, I go through and check, make sure they're all still working. So I mean that's a little bit of a job, but I mean
Yeah.
it's quick.
Well, and the sad part is, years from now, some of those links won't work, but the
Yeah.
newsletter will still live out there. I
Uh-huh.
mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
that makes me crazy when I, find,
Uh-huh. You get a link and a 404 error.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know, but at least you still have like a title or something, or
yes.
use the Wayback
Mhm.
Machine.
The way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's always
Well,
that. So
yes. So thank you, ladies. I don't want to keep you any
Yeah.
longer.
Thank you all. And
Oh,
have a good,
enjoy the rest of. Oh,
yeah,
one
as
question.
we're going to
and
summer.
send me that
Oh,
sample, okay?
I sure will. Thanks,
Okay.
Barb.
Thanks, Kate.
call for
Uh,
volunteer
oh,
responders.
um, let's see. Oh, Gail. Whatever you are interested in. I know that the people who are they're reviving the ICG committee. They're meeting tomorrow afternoon on Zoom, and membership could use members. Publications could use a chairperson and members. We need a historian and possibly members on the Lineage Society committee. I think those are the ones. So if you're interested in any of those, just let me know and I will. Okay, so publications committee? Or do you want or are you interested in the publications committee chair? Because that's even more.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
that.
If you're interested in okay. No,
You're not too new.
I wouldn't
No,
think so.
no.
Uh,
I became a
but
president of a society and I was not even a member for a year yet. It's a great way to learn about the
mhm.
society. Truly.
And really your committee members are me, Jon Marie, Joy, and
Carissa.
Carissa. We have a new member.
We have a great
And
team.
yeah. But if you want to come on as a member, that is a-okay too. And then we all can work together and eventually someone can be the chair.
We need one.
But sure, Gail, I'll add you on the committee. We typically we meet once a month. And probably the end of April, I think, is our next one.
Yeah, it is.
It seems like they're the end of the month. And, it's obviously on Zoom. As much as I'd like to fly to North Carolina and meet Jon Marie to check out her new house.
I know. Well, next meeting
Yeah.
I'll be in my new house.
I know. I know. Let me see. IGS publication looks like April 29th at 6:30 p.m. So, awesome. So if you want, I will add you to our committee, our team, and I'll send out the link to that meeting probably early that week. I already have it. I'm ahead of the game there. Tonight's link, I go to my Zoom and I hadn't created it. I'm like, seriously? I mean, I had meeting dates for like out in June already. Oh, come on, Kay. All righty. Great.
All
We're happy
right.
to have you.
Yes.
So,
Definitely.
I'll I will send you, it is a Google document, a Google Doc that is it's kind of our running agenda and minutes all together. We're very informal around here.
Yeah.
So to bring you up to speed for just a couple weeks, 15 days. So that should help because it's been, I don't know, I think I started in January and we just modify it over the year. So it's helpful for me. And uh I don't have to turn anything in, anything official. So, okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, you guys have a
Yeah.
good evening.
Thank you, Jon Marie. You too.
All
And you
right.
too, Gail.
Bye, you
Talk to you
guys.
girls later. Bye bye.